So I get a lot of questions about why are these stones so dirty? This is not dirt. These are living organisms. These are plants. The more polished the stone, the less surface area there is for the biological organisms to adhere to the stone. And so the reason why we use this quaternary ammonium compound is this kills them. So these things are natural in nature. You're going to find in the South especially, it's not just growing on rooftops, it's also growing on our headstones. My name is Trae Zipperer. I'm the founder of By Memorial Day, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the cleaning of all veteran headstones by Memorial Day in perpetuity. So this is a ground level grave marker issued by the federal government via the National Cemetery Administration. It's a white marble material, natural stone. He was a gunner's mate, GM 3rd class, U.S. Navy. I don't think it's respectful to have a veteran's headstone dirty in the least. And so we're going to clean this headstone of this American hero who gave his all, who sacrificed unimaginable horrors for 3.5 years as a prisoner of war. The first thing I like to do is I use a desk broom to get all of the sand and debris off of the stone. So we take our water squirt bottle. I like the one with a little bit bigger base on it. I give it a coating of water, because again, these stones are porous, so it's going to soak in this clean water, which is not going to get down in any chemical down inside the stone. We use a cleaning agent that contains an active ingredient known as a quaternary ammonium compound, and it is known and respected throughout historic preservationists as the safest, most effective way to clean natural stone. This brush is made with bristles from Tampico. So the Tampico from the agave plant is a natural bristle that won't harm the natural stone. And then I want to give it a good coating of the D2 biological solution, which is going to go to work on this stone very quickly. You're going to see this stone starting to turn a bit of an orange color. And then it's going to continue working on the stone for the next few weeks, and that stone will become brighter and whiter and whiter. And you have to clean them about every 2 to 3 years. This does a wonderful job of getting all the growth killed on the stone. The next step is to let that soak for about 10 minutes. When I'm looking at a headstone in a cemetery, I want that stone to be impeccably clean. It doesn't matter if it's almost clean, it needs to be clean. I think the reason why some veteran headstones become more soiled or more covered in biological growth is because of the polishing of the stone. The more polished the stone, the less surface area there is for the biological organisms to adhere to the stone. And after about 10 minutes, it's not that hard to get the material off the stone with a soft bristle, natural bristle brush. Then you can get into the etchings with a toothbrush to get into the real nooks and crannies of things sometimes. And the final step of honoring a veteran of our past is to place an American flag at their grave. This is known as a grave flag. This particular grave has already had an American Legion flag holder placed at the grave, and there's a spot in the back of them for the flag stick to just stick right down into it. My vision of By Memorial Day is that one day in the near future we'll have a volunteer assigned to every veteran's grave in America, no matter where that veteran is buried, no matter what cemetery they're in. So to tell you a little bit about why this happens, these are living organisms. These are plants growing on the stone, whether they're algae or lichens or mold, mildew. And so the reason why we use this quaternary ammonium compound is this kills them. So these things are natural in nature. You're going to find in the South especially, we have this black mold on all of our concrete tile roofs. And it's not just growing on rooftops, it's also growing on our headstones. I think it's important that we don't lose the stories of our veteran heroes of the past, because they truly are forgotten. Their stories are disappearing, because when they pass away and the people who knew them pass away, their stories are pretty much gone forever. So now we're going to start on the etchings. I start with the cross at the top and work my way down, just each letter. These are etched into the marble, as compared to the early veteran headstones were known as bas relief, where the letters were basically sticking out. They removed the material around the letters, so the letters became kind of like three-dimensional. The material that grows inside these stones, it's a combination of things that fixed in there, and also there's little ledges, so to speak, where when the wind blows, the pollen falls, all different types of things will just get wedged and just build up in these etchings. Grave flags measure 8 inches by 12 inches, but I would rather have a flag than no flag. So if you can't find an 8 by 12, that doesn't mean you can't place a flag at the grave. The person at a podium speaking, for example, the American flag is to their right. So in this case, we have a headstone of American veterans. So as the veteran's looking at you, the flag needs to be to his or her right. You want to get as close to the stone as you can without marring the stone with your mallet, because when the weed eaters and other types of maintenance equipment comes through, you don't want them hitting your flag holder. The way that I research the veterans buried beneath the veteran headstones that I clean is by using the internet first, and I go to certain sources that I know contain content, such as findagrave.com. There's several different websites like that, and by looking into those different databases and different family trees on ancestry.com, you can start to put together the story of a veteran, and every now and then you just get something that's amazing and insightful that you didn't anticipate. This is a application for headstone or marker for a deceased American veteran. The family members would have to complete this application in order to choose what style of veteran headstone that they wanted for their loved one. And this particular application is for Robert S. Lewis, prepared by his father, and this is where the story of his sacrifice became apparent. This man was a sergeant. Sergeant Shadman was a top turret gunner. Fire in the cockpit. Could not see if he got out. I saw Sergeant Shadman reaching for a parachute. I do not believe he could have gotten out alive, because the plane broke apart where he was last seen. When they were attacked, they were flying at 24,000 feet. Sergeant Shadman was up in the top turret. He was a gunner, and he was trying to get out of that top turret as the plane was tumbling to the ground. His death date says September 12th, 1944, but there's evidence to suggest that he did in fact get out of that aircraft, and he did reach the ground alive, because there's a hospital admission record of him in September 1944. We don't know what day that he died, but his mother applied for his veteran headstone with a death date of September 23rd. In your local cemeteries, there are local heroes whose graves are in really bad condition, and it's pretty sad that a man or a woman gives their life for our country, and then they're forgotten in the cemetery, and their headstone can't even be read because there's so much biological filth on it. There are people in America who care about veterans' graves. They just don't know what's happening out here, so I want to bring this story to them so that they know that in your local cemeteries, there are local heroes whose graves are in really bad condition. So if this is something that speaks to your heart, I encourage you to get out in your local cemetery, see for yourself if there's veteran headstones in need of cleaning in your local area, and take the initiative to do something about it.